What if your reality is optional because you yourself invented it? Could it be that what you made, you can unmake because it was never outside of you to begin with? Today, we are contemplating lesson 32. I have invented the world I see. This lesson reveals the next step after victimhood ends. It is here that authorship is revealed. And it reveals to us that freedom can be immediate when you realize that imagination was always the cause. But this lesson doesn't say, well, you imagined events and nothing really happened. Your pain isn't valid. It's saying something far more empowering than that. It's saying you invented the meaning, that meaningful world, but not the raw data of experience. This is the lesson where the cause for what we experience is no longer relocated. It is owned within. Perception is no longer questioned. It is claimed. And freedom stops being philosophical and becomes available. The perceptual error that is being undone is this. You believe the world is happening to you rather than arising from you. This lesson is radical because it removes the last excuse for bondage, for victimhood. If you invented the world you see, then it cannot be the authority over you. And you're not being asked to feel guilty for inventing it. You're simply being shown the mechanism so that you can not just reinvent it, but release it altogether. The world is not solid reality. At its core, it is a wished-for picture. And it remains visible to you because you still want something from it. Perhaps control, validation, punishment, fairness or specialness, or perhaps even protection. But when you are done with it, it will be done with you. At its core, seeing or perception is desire made visible. That's why the Course says, when you no longer want it, it will not be there for you to see. And this is not a denial of experience. It is simply the exposure of its source. The inner and the outer are treated equally here because both are imagination. The images out there or the images in here, both are on the same screen, the same projection. And the practical application here is incredibly direct. When distress arises, it invites us to say, I have invented this situation as I see it. This is not to blame ourselves, but to return power and ownership to the only place it ever was. And that true authorship that this lesson points us towards is in itself release. And before we go deeper into our contemplation, I want to invite you to take this moment to bring yourself into full and lucid presence here and now. Simply let go of thoughts and concepts. Feel your body, perhaps allowing it to relax more deeply, allowing your breath to expand, your jaw to loosen, your eyes to soften. And with your eyes open, place the central idea in your mind. I have invented the world I see. And see if you can come into contact with the possibility that this statement is wholly true. As you behold what you see now, how does it look different through this lens? Take these next few moments to look at your life, your mind, and the space around you, and contemplate, I have invented the world I see. And now, let's begin to unfold our contemplation into dialogue. And the very first question that I want to ask is this. The lesson states plainly that you are not the victim of the world you see because you invented it. So what does the Course mean by invented? And what does it not mean?
That's a good starting point. I think when the Course says invented, it's not like we consciously sat down and designed every detail of our lives. It's more about our interpretation, our meaning making layered onto whatever is happening. It's the mental framework we impose on things rather than the things themselves. What it doesn't mean, I think, is that our experiences aren't real or don't matter. It's not a denial of what's happening, but a shift in perspective from cause and effect versus responsibility.
So why is this idea meant to be freeing? Because I can imagine also from another perspective, it could feel accusatory almost.
That's such a key point. It could absolutely feel like blame. I think the liberation comes from realizing you're not powerless. If you didn't invent it, then you're just at the mercy of this harsh, fixed reality. But when you recognize you're the inventor, it means you have the power to change the invention. It shifts from being a victim to being a creator. It's like you get to decide what world you want to see rather than being stuck with this one you didn't ask for. That makes sense?
Yeah, and I mean, the lesson also says, while you want the world you see, you will continue to see it. So what does that really mean, to want a world?
Good question. I think want in this context isn't about a conscious desire in the way we usually think of it. It's more like an unconscious default setting. We want what we believe. We're invested in the story we've created, even if it causes us pain. We want separation. We want specialness. We want to be right. And as long as we hold on to those desires, we'll keep experiencing the world through that lens. It's not that we're intentionally choosing suffering, but we're choosing the beliefs that create it.
Do you think that for some people, the idea, I invented this world, and perhaps even another way of saying it, I imagined this world, triggers fear or maybe even panic?
I think absolutely. Because if you imagine you invented this world and there's some pain in it, then you seem to be responsible for it. Or maybe more subtly, if you made it up, then it means it's not solid. Everything we've been looking at and believing feels destabilized. Like maybe your memories are actually fabrications rather than something that really happened. Or maybe you feel like you need to maintain control over everything. It must feel very shaky to think that everything you've created might have just come from your mind.
So is the fear about losing the world or losing the self that seems to need it and need to control it?
Exactly. The ego's grip is all about control, about making everything predictable, secure. If the world is actually invented, then neither the world nor the ego feel safe anymore. They can't be trusted. There's a relief and a vulnerability in letting go of that control, but it feels like a fall. I wonder how much of the Course actually wants us to stop trying to protect the idea of who we are so that we can move into peace.
Well, how about this aspect? We touched on this briefly already. The distinguishment between responsibility and guilt in this lesson. How do we approach that in a skillful way?
Right, that's a beautiful thread. The Course doesn't want us to take on guilt for what appears to be suffering around us, but it does absolutely call for responsibility. What I'm getting is that the responsibility lies in recognizing the invention and then choosing a different one. The guilt is the belief that you're somehow doing something inherently wrong, that you've caused the suffering in the world. But the responsibility is acknowledging that you're the artist and your brushstrokes created the scene. So it's not, I'm a bad person, but I'm ready to create something different. Does that feel right?
Yeah, I guess I'm getting the sense like responsibility restores power or restores choice, right? While guilt is not really compatible with the idea of true cause.
That was a lot of repetition. I think I caught the core of it, something about guilt disabling agency and responsibility opening up choice.
Let's try it again.
I wonder if the Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is that responsibility is something that helps to restore our power of choice, while guilt is essentially incompatible with true cause. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think that's very accurate. Guilt implies there's something fixed and wrong that you've done, an irrevocable mistake. And when you're locked in guilt, you're stuck in the past. But responsibility is about the present. I'm awake to the fact that I'm creating this now, and I can choose again. That shift from being defined by the past to being empowered in the present feels huge.
Let's zoom into that aspect of responsibility that the Course is inviting us in this lesson to really zoom into, which is, the practice asks us to apply this idea directly to distressing situations. It suggests, I have invented this situation as I see it. So what shifts when distress is treated as information about perception rather than proof of reality?
That's the key, isn't it? When the distress becomes information, it's like the signal hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. Instead of, this horrible thing is happening to me, it's, my mind is creating an experience of horror. So the panic button doesn't work anymore because the distress isn't evidence of a real hostile world. It's evidence of your mental state. It's less about fixing the external and more about tracing it back to its source in your mind. The question then isn't, why is this happening? But what am I believing that's creating this sensation?
Yeah, another way I've heard that inquiry posed is, what must I believe in order to feel this way?
Exactly. That framing is so powerful, it takes away the whole narrative around cause and effect. The world didn't cause me to feel this way. Something inside me has created these feelings based on some story or belief. It puts the focus entirely back on your inner state rather than making an external villain. What's remarkable, too, is that when you rest in the what must I believe question, there's this pause. There's this opening that is actually peaceful and soft, like the feelings don't have as much juice anymore.
Yeah. And let's also explore the conversation around imagination, because at the core, I don't think that many course students really connect with this idea of imagination being a central figure, so to speak, in this work. Imagination is typically associated with the work of Neville Goddard or manifestation techniques, but in this case, how does the course redefine imagination here that is not about fantasy or escape?
This is a great clarification because it's counterintuitive, isn't it? Most of us think imagination is some fluffy, creative thing you use to make up stories or daydreams, but the Course uses it totally differently. It's not about escaping reality into fancy, but it's about recognizing that your perception is the imagination. It's not what you do with thoughts, it's how you experience. Like the lens through which you're seeing right now, that's your imagination. So when the Course says you have invented the world you see, it's not saying you're creating fantasy. It's saying your perception itself is the creative act happening right now. It's just that we usually call it seeing rather than imagining.
Yeah, it's pretty profound, right? When we really open up that lens and really see that at the core, what we call perception is imagination, isn't it?
Exactly. And so then the task becomes not to change your imagination to a prettier one, but to realize that it's happening in the first place. To rest in that there actually isn't something out there to perceive accurately or inaccurately. There's just your consciousness actively making up what is there to be seen right now, based on these patterns of thought and meaning we've been carrying around. It almost feels like all experience is creative work, not accurate data.
But I think that this is also where the course diverges from some of those reality creation paths, because in many of the works, like for example with Neville Goddard, right, the idea is to imagine better, right, to essentially invent a better world. But that's not what the course is suggesting, is it?
Not at all. I think Neville is focused on altering the content of imagination. I want a different car, so I'll vividly imagine it. But the Course isn't about designing a better dream. It's about waking up from the dream itself. It's about recognizing that the whole process of imagination, good or bad, is still part of separation. The goal isn't to get a nicer illusion, but to stop believing in the illusion in the first place. So it's not changing the furniture in the dream, it's realizing you're dreaming. Do you feel that distinction?
Absolutely. I'm glad we covered it here. So, what does it actually mean then to experientially give up the world rather than reinventing it?
Ooh, that's the heart of it, isn't it? Experiencing the world rather than inventing it. It's not about nothing happening or becoming passive, but when your hand brushes against a table or when someone speaks to you, there is no concept about it, no expectation about what it should be, no association. The quality that is left behind feels like an openness, like rest. And if your hand touches the table now and doesn't have any story behind it, doesn't have identity in it, and the fear and pain just doesn't know where to exist. It doesn't have a home.
So, when we talk about giving up the world, then is it just talking about giving up that conceptual, imaginative overlay of interpretation and meaning?
Yeah, exactly. It's not giving up sensation or experience, it's giving up the story that's wrapped around it. Like, if there's pain in your knee, don't give up feeling the pain. Just drop the narrative, this means I'm getting old, or this will ruin my hike, or I'm a broken, unreliable body. Just feel what's here without adding that commentary on top of it. That resting in pure sensation without meaning feels incredibly spacious and different.
So then, who is it that remains here when we're no longer maintaining the world for our sense of identity or for defense or for meaning?
That's the real question. What's left? That spacious awareness that sees those thoughts and feelings without needing to become them. Not any kind of identity or persona or even observer, just awareness itself. And the beauty of it is, there's something deeply peaceful and natural there. It feels different than just thinking or having experiences. It's more like the place where all of those things arise and dissolve. What would happen if we just rested there for a moment together?
Yeah. What would happen is what was always happening without the story of separation overlaid. So I want to thank you so much. As we bring this to a close, do you have anything that you would love to share with us that can help us to see and embody and experience the essence of this lesson in ways that perhaps we've never done before?
I think the simplest thing might be to practice the pause after judgment. Whatever thought or feeling arises, good or bad, just don't follow it. When you notice you're telling yourself a story about someone or something or yourself, just stop. Create that space between the thought and the reaction. In that pause, you're already letting go of the invention. You're already meeting reality directly instead of through your story. And that gap of space, that's the revelation of presence that this lesson speaks to.
Beautiful. So as you sit with this lesson, just notice what begins to feel lighter when you stop defending the world as you've known it. Perhaps freedom is not about creating a better world at all, but realizing that you no longer need to maintain a world altogether. So if something shifted for you here, even subtly, through the contemplation and the dialogue, I'd love to hear what you noticed in the comments below this video. And as we close this session, simply let your awareness open into that space between the raw experience here and now and the conceptual, judgmental overlay that is invented by the ego mind. And now, let us go into the silence.